Welcome to Digital India Summit. This is 7th edition and we have a very special guest with us. We have with us President of Microsoft India, Mr. Anant Maheshwari. Anant, thank you so much for joining us. It's a pleasure having you on Digital India Summit. And actually, a lot of things have changed when we spoke last in the 6th edition of Digital India Summit. But one thing that has not changed, that is India's stride towards becoming a digitized economy and a digitized nation. In fact, the Digital India campaign has put India on a journey to be digitally empowered nation. And in fact, Prime Minister Modi himself has called this decade India's Techade. What role do you see technology playing in driving India's growth going forward, Anant?
Thank you so much for having me at the summit. Really excited to participate. Maybe I'll start with three words that we hear all the time, but just if you rearrange these words, you get three very, very different thoughts. And the three words that I would speak of is India, lead, and digital. So let's start with the first combination of these words. India leads digital. India is truly setting the leadership benchmarks for digital across the planet. With close to 825 million internet users and 750 million smartphone users, that we are amongst the largest digitally connected people on the planet. We've also evolved during the pandemic, especially, to create the largest digital identity system and leading, therefore, the mobile internet payment innovation across the country, across the world. And Aadhaar and UPI are very powerful examples of technology really driving financial inclusion, economic inclusion, and social inclusion for 1.3 billion India. So that was the first combination. India leads digital. Let's change it. Digital leads India. And in the last 2 years, if you really see, there's been a huge surge in the tech consumption and the revenues from digital businesses. Now, look at India's IT industry, which is the source of global innovation and capability building for organizations across the world. It's expected to clock annual revenues of $300+ billion in 5 years, already past $200 billion now. So the entrepreneurial momentum in the country is really compounding with over 60,000 startups. It's really the backbone of the solutions. And finally, the third combination of those three words, lead digital India. So it's up to a lot of people to come together to lead digital India. The government's done its bit in really creating these platforms. The technology companies are coming in and the tech platforms are providing capabilities to everybody to increase their tech intensity and democratize digital. But it's now up to each one of us to truly lead digital India. One example I would take is every student and every teacher today is leading digital India. Every patient and every doctor today is leading digital India. And that's how we really need to bring all of us to participate in this momentum, keep the skills we learned in the hybrid and build on these digital habits as we move forward to remain a connected, empowered and digital India.
Right, and so that's very well said. Anant, what we have seen in last more than 2 years is that the tech savvy and people with digital capability, availability, I would say, of devices, of connectivity, network, they have really latched on to this whole digital revolution that's taking place in India. But at the same time, we have a very large, in fact, one of the largest rural population and I would say maybe semi-urban population who are still living in hinterland. Now obviously a lot has happened in terms of connectivity and providing them with digital capability, but what more can be done to basically bridge the gap or the digital divide, if I may use the term, to actually make a digital India a reality in its true sense for every Indian or every citizen.
You touched upon a very, very important point. The digital divide is real and it's been really exposed by the pandemic like never before. Now, three things that we've been working on but need continuous work going forward will continue to bridge this digital divide. And these three things are access, inclusion, and skilling. So let me take them one by one. So if you just look at access to infrastructure, the low-cost devices and broadband is the basic and the fundamentals for getting that power of digital India to everyone. The pandemic showed that without the access, you really can't then even get to education, healthcare, economic opportunity, and so much more. So the quality of access will be very critical, and in that, we also need to have very strong reliability, privacy, and security going forward. So it's not just you have access, but what's the quality of access? And trust will really need to be at the heart of all tech platforms as we design to connect India. The second aspect about the digital divide is inclusion. Now, you mentioned about the benefits of technology really reaching the rural hinterlands, but it's also about reaching every part of India, from small and micro businesses to migrant workers to farmers to vulnerable communities. So, really, different sections of the country need to access this. In the pandemic, we really saw how remote work opened up even opportunities for women in the workplace. So it's the digital divide has to be seen many different ways. It's also the disability divide that exists in the country with nearly about 27 million people with disabilities in India. As per the census 2011, it's increased significantly since then. So it's really important that digital is used to really bridge all of these divides and drive with inclusion, designed for enablement, accessibility, and flexibility as we go forward. The third aspect for the divide is digital skills. Now, many of us, you and I included, have really learned in the pandemic to use a lot of our digital skills to better effect. But it's also our imperative as government and all the industry put together to get this digital skilling to every person, because with digital skilling you will really bring a lot more people into the workforce and also bridge the digital divide. So it requires a very collective commitment from everyone.
Right. In fact, Anand, I want you to actually detail your thoughts a bit about the digital skilling, because this is one aspect which is actually going to drive the Indian economy and maybe create opportunities for today's youth. As far as it's not only about employment, it's also about creating entrepreneurship, it's also about creating innovation. So what is your idea how we can maybe democratize digital skilling in India?
So, see, India's talent is one of its biggest assets, and therefore, digital skilling will be very key to harness that talent and compete on a global scale. I spoke about the IT sector a little while back, the startups, which is also the B2B software as a service startups that are serving the world, and also the global innovation centers that have been set up by big global companies in India. Now, all of these capabilities have really been harnessing the innovation from India, but for the world. So it's really driving a lot of that talent usage and future, the opportunities, with the opportunities that exist globally. So India for the world is driving tremendous jobs, and every job serving the global need is creating further jobs in India. Now, moving from here, I think the big opportunity for us is also to drive innovation from India for India. Now, with these billion scale platforms like UPI, Aadhaar, and many more that are available across the countries, it's very critical that we really engage the homegrown Indian companies, the public sector, and the MSMEs with a startup population that can really innovate and create offerings in India for India. We've already seen a lot of that happening in our e-commerce and the retail sector. We are seeing that happen in fintech as we see health tech, ed tech, gov tech. Many of these are now shaping up as we go forward, and this will be critical to drive that jobs and employment for India from India. And digital skilling therefore becomes the foundation. How do you drive this digital skilling? It's not just tech companies doing it. A great example is how we partnered even with the Ministry of Labor and Employment to look at the people in different strata of the society and bring digital skilling to them. I'll take a very simple example. You live in NCR or in Mumbai or in Bangalore or in Chennai or in Calcutta. You're in a gated community and you go to the guard of that gated community. 5 years back, that wasn't a digital skill. Today, that is a digital skill. That security guard is managing so many digital capabilities of entry, access, allowing people in and out, all on a digital platform. So everybody needs to upgrade themselves and have that digital skilling as we go forward. And the more we can bring it to everyone across different platforms, the better it is for the country.
I want to, ask you a particular question about the small enterprises or the MSMEs, SMEs, because I think what we have seen is, this whole pandemic actually played the role of a catalyst for them to quickly migrate to digital ecosystems because, obviously by definition, these are the businesses who are slightly unstructured, maybe operating in a more traditional way. A lot of them are family businesses. We have seen that transformation taking place. Now, going forward, what is your vision or what is your understanding how quickly this place can evolve, the micro enterprises, to catch up with the large MNCs or the large corporates and actually start taking full benefit of the digital ecosystem that exists in India?
So it's already happening, and we've also helped in that process. Microsoft introduced, in fact, an absolutely new offering for MSMEs called SMB in a box, literally bringing all the capabilities together in one place, and they can just get going with productivity tools, with infrastructure tools, and with the cloud and data and AI capabilities that are required for every SMB in the country. Now, this is, of course, an ongoing movement. The infrastructure will be something that they will get to use, but also how they access their customers, how they work with their ecosystems and partners, how they even leverage the government offerings that are available is a big part of now continuous process to support them going forward. You've got to start with certain sectors as a priority and then have this continue go down to other sectors and other parts of the country to bring a larger MSME population in. I go back to the earlier thoughts around access, very big part of it. Creating the digital skills, again, a very big part of it, enabling MSMEs. Just making it simple for them to get on and get going and not completely transplant the physical world business models, but truly create new hybrid models. I see so many more entrepreneurial opportunities in this new hybrid world for MSMEs.
Right. Anant, also what we have seen is, one thing that has really, I think, pleasantly surprised everyone is the action that we have seen in the startup ecosystem. Obviously, today we are the third largest startup ecosystem in the world. We have also seen record levels of fundraising and the amount of companies which are entering into the unicorn club. In fact, in 2021 itself, we saw more than 40 companies turning into a unicorn. Now, one is obviously this momentum needs to continue and it needs to expand. The pyramid needs to obviously expand at the base as well. What are your thoughts on that?
So, yes, there are startups, unicorns, soonicorns. There are many words now to describe them. And of course, there is the venture capital funds and the private equity funds. So it's a very large ecosystem. I would call all of them as the digital natives ecosystem. So the digital natives are truly a growth engine of the Indian economy. If you really look at the last few years, the innovation, the customer centricity, the capability building that this entire ecosystem has brought and accelerated has been just incredible. Quite simply, the entrepreneurial energy is disrupting every sector and every industry, creating new business models, attracting global investment, opening job opportunities, and driving the next chapter of growth and innovation for India, which now has made us the third largest startup ecosystem on the planet. So the stats are mind-boggling. In 2021 alone, we were producing one unicorn every 9 days. And we were maybe creating 4 new startups every day in the country. It's just amazing to even think about the entrepreneurial energy that this is unleashing. And this trend is not just limited to metros or very large cities. 45% of the startups today operate in tier 2 and tier 3 cities. It's really the testimony to a spirit of Atmanirbhar Bharat growing and driving grassroots innovation in the country. Now, every startup is a cloud and AI enabled company already. So cloud, data and AI provide these new capabilities, speed and scale, empowering startups to innovate from everywhere and anywhere. So investing in this R&D and innovation and the talent pool skilling that we spoke about, the access to funding and the policy framework that has now been announced by the government also will really add a fillip to the growth of the startup ecosystem in India. I truly believe that we have a good opportunity to make India a global tech and innovation hub. And the startup story will be a very big enabler and contributor to making this vision a reality. As I said earlier, the startup community and the startup opportunity is both about innovation from India for India and for the world. And therefore, India's tech aid will rest on these twin engines of growth that the digital natives can drive.
Right. Anant, as an industry veteran, I have to ask you this question. You know, we are looking at the evolution of technology taking place at a pace which is sometimes, which is mind-boggling. So obviously there is constant chatter about, the 5G rollout. There is constant chatter about the metaverse, immersive technology. We have already seen some part of it kicking off in different parts of the world. Then there is obviously this whole artificial intelligence, blockchain, smart cars, smart devices, autonomous cars. I mean, so much is happening in the digital space. So if we were to peep into the future, let's say India at 100, we are currently in the 75th year of independence. If we look at India at 100, can we say that India is going to be one of the leaders, one of the champions of the digital and the tech revolution, which can be put to use in a way where it benefits every citizen, the last man standing in the queue? How the world is going to change in next 25 years, and especially for India?
It's a little. I would not make a prediction for 25 years, because I can tell you that a lot of people who may have predicted where we are standing today would not have happened 25 years back. So the world will change quite dramatically in the next 25. But the core fact remains that the tech intensity on the planet will increase. Now, so therefore, what are the three big trends of that tech intensity increasing? Number one, there is tech platforms. So the platforms have to continuously enable a lot more. That is what folks like us at Microsoft provide. We provide those platforms where everybody can innovate, anybody can participate and create their own unique capability. So the second trend is your own unique capability. Today in your industry itself, if you look at the media industry, it is really transforming in the way you create content, you disseminate content, you get feedback. Gamification is happening in your industry. So a lot of trend lines are coming together with the power of data and AI, but each of you in the industry is creating your own tech capability. It's your unique secret sauce. The platforms may be available to everybody in the industry, but you're able to distinguish by creating your own tech capability. And finally, it's the power of trust. Trust will become the defining trend line as we move forward. The pandemic has really shown how the aspects around cybersecurity, privacy, security in general, transparency, reliability become very, very important as we go forward. So trust will become this defining trend line in 25 years, where you will only use the tech platforms that you trust. You will only bring those tech platforms into your ecosystem that you trust. So it's very critical that trust becomes that core fabric that is really bringing these platforms and your unique capability together. And that to me is a very human element. Trust is a very, very human element. So human empathy and trust will continue to increase even more in the next 25 years than they may have in the last 25. And that to me would be a very big defining trend as we move towards India at 100.
I think that's very interesting perspective. Anant, thank you so much for joining us. It's been a pleasure having you at Digital India Summit, and hopefully next time when we meet on this platform or any other platform, we'll meet physically. The world would have left the pandemic behind. Let's hope for that. Stay safe. Anant, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much, Mayor.